And welcome back, everybody, once again to the PCS. We had quite the knockdown dragout game to kick us off today, but we've got 5 more, so I hope y'all buckled up. Now, before we get into it, I'd like to take a brief moment to shout out our wonderful sponsors, CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and our newest sponsor, Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, Nightstar, I think we had to take a minute and just do some deep breathing after that last game, just clear the air, because now we got a whole new set of games. Beyond Gaming are taking on the likes of LYB, which is a lopsided match on paper, a David versus Goliath story. But as we saw yesterday, Beyond Gaming can bleed.
Yeah, Beyond Gaming, they definitely aren't the perfect team, but they're still probably our second or third strongest, clearly, in our league here. With this win, they're hoping to win out. That would guarantee themselves at least a second place tiebreaker, assuming Machi would also win out there in that regard. And for LYB, while winning this game doesn't necessarily guarantee themselves into playoffs, it makes their next game today all the more intriguing.
Oh yeah, there's big playoff implications for both teams, but as you mentioned, Megabank Beyond Gaming are really looking to try and lock up that second seed, which they can get themselves into a much better position to do it if they completely win out. For LYB, they actually don't have to win this game, but they do need to win at least 2 of their next 3. We'll get into that in a minute, because Megabank Beyond Gaming on your screen, we saw them with a loss yesterday to the likes of Hong Kong Attitude. Maybe they can pick things back up. Here they are: Liang, Busha, Maoan, Doggo, and Kino. And, maybe just a bit of a late season lapse. It did seem like some individual mistakes kind of sunk them. Being caught out a little bit, kind of going for some really, maybe optimistic engages, at least, or solo catches, resulting in being punished.
Yeah, and the game number 1 against Hong Kong Attitude, I think Kino really underperformed in that game, getting caught out a number of times. And then even in their second game against Berjaya, or not Berjaya, but I forget, let's see here. It was J-Team. While they were able to win that game, they were really discombobulated with their play calling. They were never synced up, so even coming into the day, it's definitely doable for LYB, as they are going to bring in Kanji back into the lineup. This is kind of what I expected into crunch time here. I would definitely assume that the previous 2 games, while they would have liked to win, they were certainly priority on their list. It was these last 3 games.
It all counts here down to the wire for LYB. And, it's an interesting strategy to try and maybe, keep Kanji chilling on the bench, warm him up a little bit for these last couple of games. But he has a big old smile on his face as we get ready to rock for this one. It is, for LYB, as I mentioned, not technically a must-win, but just about every game for LYB is becoming a must-win. The scenario's thus. They're some games behind Impunity Esports. They could overtake them, force a tiebreaker, depending on what happens today. We'll take a look at our featured matchup. It will be Husha versus Dodoi, and I think this is no surprise to anyone who's watched these teams, particularly LYB. I think Dodoi is always the one looking to make things happen for his squad, and, honestly, not terrible stats considering the record that this team has had. He's even stepped up and put on the carry pants a couple of times on that Olaf.
Yeah, and Dodoi, I mean, he is the early game player that this engine really revolves around, and LYB aren't even that bad of an early game team. So it definitely poses some issues, especially coming off of such a rough 2 games for Megabank Beyond Gaming. I really need to see a pretty decisive draft from Megabank. I feel like they need to go back to what they're good at, with more solo lane focus, more 1-3-1 skirmish focused compositions. Not really this wombo combo style, because you saw yesterday against Boom Esports or J-Team that they really struggled to coordinate all of their ultimates at the same time.
Yeah, I'll see if they're able to really step it up, pick up the pieces in that one. Beyond, go for a quick lock on the Renekton. I was going to say, now that we've seen Italy starting to come back in vogue here, Is it worth a takeaway pick for Dodoy to try and deny that Renekton Nidalee combo that we saw not quite executed to its fullest potential last game?
That's certainly something that they're considering, I would think, in the background. They do have the Volibear. Volibear, Nidalee, also not a bad combination. If you put that Volibear up in the top side, facilitates very well for the Nidalee. You can also dive very readily with the Volibear, but not as good of a laner as it used to be into the Renekton. So we'll see what they decide to follow up with instead, as it will be the Varus locked in for Dawn. I like this pick here. It allows you a lot of flexibility on where you want to go. And okay, so for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, it does look like they want to turn towards this Rumble. And while Husha was pretty impactful with the Rumble, the ult layering to go with the Rumble ult just really wasn't there.
Yeah, I think I want to see a little more out of this pick from Husha. Maybe we'll get a chance for it. Doggo does get the flash on the Draven before he decides to go for the Kalista instead. They haven't locked a support pick in just yet, but it does show some confidence that they're going to be able to work with it. No support bans so far, so if it doesn't get picked away, and there we go, Nautilus coming up, it does mean that there's opportunities for a couple of different things, but the Nautilus definitely a big prio, as you can't just bowling ball that into an enemy team.
The Nautilus, I feel like, is a little bit more of a denial pick here for LYB, and not super sure if that was the ideal. I would have preferred something like a Braum to add a little bit more disengage, a little bit more zone control here. I just don't think the Nautilus is necessary in that regard, but in the bans, they'll try and take away some of those supports away from Beyond Gaming, as they do start off with that rail ban.
Yeah, there will be a Syndra to follow up, so I'm just kind of targeting that at Xyliath. With the early pickup on the Renekton, it does seem like Beyond, they're maybe hoping LYB end up opting into picking their mid laner. Next, it's probably going to be the jungle, though. Still waiting to see if that Nidalee makes an appearance in the ban column or the pick column. It would be LYB that would be liable to do it. The Lucian is also banned away. Should be at Maoan.
Yeah, the Lucian says to me that they want to go for some sort of control mage into that mid lane here. Maybe the Orianna, maybe the Cassio. And there's still options. Like, it could just be the Renekton into that mid lane. We already saw it a number of times, and it is a decent pairing with the Rumble jungle, so it makes a lot of sense.
Now, but Gwen's made it through the entire pick ban so far. If that is a jungle Volibear, that's always a possibility for Kanji, but it is going to be a mid lane pick. We've got the Zoe coming up, so it's kind of turning into a poke comp.
Yeah, it's got definitely a lot of poke elements, a lot of pick power here, and it also has very solid roam potential early on as well. So you're going to be able to get early priority with the Zoe pick and hopefully generate something around this Volibear jungle if it does go into the jungle to get aggressive into the Rumble side. Maybe find those invades, maybe even get a pick or two onto the Rumble. That would certainly slow down his level 6. It would also slow down a lot of the mid-game power coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. And it does look like it's going to be... I want to say the Renekton is going mid if you do lock in the Jace, but perhaps they like the Jace matchup into the Zoe just to match kind of poke against poke,
Yeah, I think what Beyond have done is give themselves some options here, right? And depending on what LYB do, because LYB have kind of held their cards a little close to the chest. I think it's more likely that the Volibear does fall into the hands of Dodo. It has played it once already, but they have some possibilities. So back to the team from the Philippines for the final pickup, and it will be the Orb lock-in for Kanji. That's been a little while since we've seen the Forge collar.
The Orb pick is definitely very interesting here. I did not expect that. I was more expecting the Gwen, as you mentioned earlier, just because of the fact that, well, if you have a Volibear in the jungle, you can go for a bit more of a core carry-oriented top laner. But it does look like they want to put Kanji onto more of a weak side lane, as he is going to be sitting on that Ornn. We'll see how he performs. Ornn, definitely not a champion known to go into the mid lane as of late, so I can't imagine he's practiced it a whole lot, but perhaps his time on the bench has allowed him to get those, build up those rock mechanics, because I feel like he's going to come under fire.
Yeah, Rock certainly showed exactly how to deal with the 1v3 as best as possible last game around. And I wonder what that's going to mean for Kanji coming into this one, playing on that weak side top lane. Up against the likes of Liang, it's going to be a rough lane. Maybe he gets some pressure relieved from Dodoi. I kind of feel like you called it, though, Nightstar. This is liable to be a little more of a sack. And looking at these compositions, you know, I talked about it being pretty poke heavy originally for the side of Leah, but I feel like it could be almost a bit more of like a catch composition. I mean, look at just the sheer amount of CC that this team is packing.
They have long range CC all across the board with Kanji's ultimate. You've got Xyliath with the bubble. You have Dawn with his ultimate, and then of course you have the Nautilus here. And on the flip side, it's really just a win lane, win game sort of style coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, because you have Jace, who's expected to win lane. You have Renekton, whose whole champion kit is built around winning the lane. And then you also have bot lane with the Callista, whose kit is built to just win lane and not a whole lot else. So if it gets to 20 minutes and the gold differential is within 3k, this is very much Liab's game to lose.
And that is a position that I think Liab will be fairly happy about, all things considered. Taking a look at our runes to kick things off, and don't see any major surprises coming out of there. Triple Conquerors on the side of Beyond Gaming. Beyond definitely going for early.
A little bit surprised that Kanji actually going for the grasp here, because you do want to go for the Unsealed Spellbook. Of course, he's fairly new into that top lane, so perhaps he didn't realize that he shouldn't be going for the grasp, and instead didn't know what the rune setup would be going into an Unsealed Spellbook. That could be just some of those top lane knowledge that has flown past Kanji in that instance. But we'll look to see how Liab play around this early game. Perhaps they're able to shut down Husha.
Oh boy.
But Kanji, not a good start.
Getting pushed back a little bit as he walks his way under tower. Liang just completely mercilessly bullying him. Doesn't
time to go home.
Yeah, doesn't burn any summoner spells, but I think definitely time to back quick. It's going to be a little bit of a rough start up there topside, and yeah, it's easy to forget. You know, Kanji's played so many games upside here that he started this season as a mid laner.
Yeah, and you see, like, Dodoi, clearly he wants to try and attack this top lane, but you already know there's a ward in that tri-bush very early on. There's also a ward over by the Raptor camp now from Mao An. He knows that his job right here is to make sure Liang doesn't get cheese ganked at level 2 from Dodoi, and it's going to take a lot more effort for Dodoi to sneak around this ward.
Yeah, already a good start for Beyond Gaming. They just want to make sure they can get ahead as fast as possible in the lane. Starting the action off early. Ooh. Doggo doesn't quite connect on that one Javelin, but he does push a few more into Dawn here at level 2. And we do know that Doggo and Kino do like to play an aggressive lane whenever possible. Question mark things. They definitely want to keep Dodoi in mind as they go in again. Ignite down onto Aiden, who's actually holding it. Teleport
coming in, though.
They get the first blood. Is it going to be enough for revenge, though? Instantly exhaust, and Xyliath is able to pick up Doggo with a little help from Dawn. 1-for-1 trade, but it did require the teleport of the Liab mid lane.
At the very least, it doesn't cost Xyliath anything in that mid lane. As you see, he's already got that wave crashed. He channels the teleport immediately after he is able to crash that wave. And Aiden, he just takes a little bit too much damage. And that's really all that's said there. And Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they get that fight. And more importantly, they are able to hold on to both of Doggo's summoners. That said, Kino did expend both of his, which means Dodoy, he's going to try and punish it, but he is spotted out on the ward. So they do have an inkling that he is in the vicinity.
Doggo's actually by himself on this lane, as Kino hadn't quite come back to lane yet, but he's going to walk straight into the face of the Volibear. Kino, ooh, that's a big level differential right now. They actually focus the support and
that's
tag in. Good route by Aiden there. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Dawn kind of got left alone, and the teleport comes through from Mauon. And now here's Xylath. Liab, oh man, they really want to have a little party down bot side as well. Pushed out by now.
And honestly, though, Pyra, this is such a great start from Liab, because you know this Rumble pick isn't going to be super influential, and that's why they're going to try and keep up the pressure. They even force out the flash from Doggo now, and that's huge because that exposes them to the level 6 dive pressure coming out from this Volibear. As we get to see the replay, Kino just doesn't expect the Volibear in that bush, and we saw him getting picked on against Hong Kong Attitude. It looks like Liab themselves, they're ready to pick on this support as well.
Yeah, this was a really fortuitous opportunity for Liab. You know, I thought they did see Dodoy in the river brush, but he sits and waits inside the track on the bottom and is able to actually really hold on and stop Kino from realizing that he was still waiting there. So as the dust kind of settles, game pretty even in the gold game. Liang is certainly bullying Kanji up topside, but he hasn't died yet. He hasn't had to use summoners yet. He's hanging in there. Meanwhile, Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land on a Mauon, and, well, Husha is a little bit under-leveled to do much to follow up, and this is what you were talking about, Nightstar. Can't do a whole lot on that Rumble pre-6.
Yeah, all you can do is just say hello, and it just means that Liab, they've actually been able to keep up in this early game. That bodes really, really well for them headed into that mid game. Of course, even when that Rumble is online, they're going to have to get so much from that Rumble once it comes mid game. And in this top side, this is probably, again, the most troublesome lane because of the fact Kanji is stuck on the Ornn. He's going to be playing weak side, and he provides a lot of long-range engage, yes, but you almost feel like if you're going for a tank pick, you might as well go for something that's more in vogue, like the Tahm Kench, like the Dr. Mundo, that also have a relatively better time into something like a Jace.
Yeah, a little strange pick, and, you know, as you mentioned the rune choice too, I wonder if Kanji was really prepared for these kind of switch-up shenanigans, and perhaps Beyond Gaming, you know, they saw that the swap out was happening. They're like, all right, well, this guy, let's put him off his feet right now and see what we can do. Liab are going to take an opportunity to start up on this Ocean Dragon, but they are getting pincered here.
6.
Yeah, this is a little dangerous. Husha can't turn on the red carpet, so for both teams, that's going to be the collapse immediately onto Kino. Dodo and Aiden flashing away. Doggo is actually repelled, but this is going to be the smite secure of the Dragon, even though they lose a member, hitting 6 on the back, and that's the red carpet to equalize on the kills. Mauon even staying alive. So Beyond actually make out like bandits.
That was actually massive, and the fact that Husha hits level 6 after securing the Dragon, it means that all of a sudden he does have that R button available, and Kino just once again caught out of position, gets a little bit too antsy there, creeps up a little bit too far, doesn't have the support of the rest of the team at this point in the game because Doggo's not level 6, can't bail him out, but at the very least creates space for them to secure the Dragon, and because of that, able to hit level 6 on Rumble to then secure that follow-up kill on Aiden at the end. But as all things stand, it's only a 400 gold lead for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. So, again, like, I'm feeling pretty positive about Liab's chances.
Yeah, no, I think it's not looking too terrible for them. I mean, yes, they lose the Dragon. It feels bad to kind of turn on Kino, and, you know, he's the sacrifice for the Dragon Leash, but all the same, you know, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming build this composition that's going to try to grind you into dust in the laning phase, and 2 kills to 3? Honestly, not too shabby. Kanji still stayed alive through this. Now, he does take a little bit more punishment. That's no surprise. He's down 11 CS. Okay, he can pick up a little bit more now that the wave crashes. Yeah, if you're LYB, you got to be feeling pretty decent about things right now.
Yeah, and even Kanji's build going for the Bramble Vest means that he isn't going to lose CS to Tower if he were to build something like a Bomb Me Cinder. But now Aiden possibly caught out. He's got a bit of ways to go.
Turns on. I don't know if I would have recommended that, but he's tanky enough to hold on, and so is Kino for now. Just a little bit of
return
wars
punishment's
back and
pretty
forth.
good.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, Kino getting thrown in by the Fates Call. Immediately they turn once again.
Kino?
Kino's not tanky enough. Oh, Doggo runs out of support. Literally.
Can they chase?
Flash
Flash
available. Back in the last second.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Kanji's in trouble up topside, but he does have friends, and so does Liang, as Dodoi is going to be forced to hop the wall. That will start the Rift Herald.
Oh, Huxia.
Oh, don't back there, Kanji, no. Oh, no, Kanji. You were doing so well. Huxia's going to finish him off with the equalizer tick. Meanwhile, LYB down bottom.
Ward, which was the big issue for Kanji there, but now LYB's bot lane doing very well for themselves. Doggo, he has to play very, very conservatively. Hides over the wall to at least get the EXP, but that's all he's really able to get. He's level 7 and Kino is still not level 6, and it does look like for LYB, they are still interested at trying to punish Kino, but their health bars are kind of low.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Actually, it's the Zenith Blade going in, but it was all going to be the teleport bait as Dodoi's coming in. Xyliath on the backside. The distance is a little wide here as Dodoi turns for Kino instead. Does get the stun off. Tags himself into the stasis. Will finally fall, but Aiden nearly bites it as well. The focus on Kino this game. They just full on ignored Doggo.
I think they've found a recipe for success here after watching that Hong Kong Attitude game. Put Kino on an engaged support and just watch him kind of doom himself in a lot of these situations, and he ends up going way too aggressive yet again. He wants to stop the backs, but he's not level 6. He doesn't have that extra layer of CC to stop damage from getting poured into him, and he falls yet again. Really nice teleport as well from Xyliath. His teleports have really been on point here, and just making sure that he's in position to follow up on these plays.
Yeah, I think LYB have definitely been able to play very well together towards the back half of the split. We've seen the improvement from them just kind of time and again. And it's been lamented that, you know, sometimes they just don't have enough strength to bring it home, but they are still in the running here for the playoffs. And if they can win this game against Megabank Beyond Gaming, what a statement that is. And honestly gets them one step closer. That game versus Impunity gets a lot spicier. Let's take a look one more time at the replay. We weren't kind of able to make it happen last time. Kino gets a little baited to try and take that ward, but yeah, then he just says, all right, I'm going in, and did not realize 4 members of LYB were gunning for him.
Yeah, Kino, he goes in there, but Doggo has no mana, and the moment Kino channels his okay.
We'll talk about that in a minute, because the turn with the call of the Forge God on the Liang was huge. Rift Herald still doing damage here as they do answer to Aiden. Okay, bit of a crazy move here as even Xyliath's coming up in for that big combination. Dodoi coming in to take down Huxia. Xyliath, meanwhile, getting the kill credit for it as Maoan gets shut down as well. LYB, what a collapse from them. 3 for 1.
They managed to get the punish onto Megabank Beyond Gaming. You know what their play call was going to be. They had Rift Herald, and what is their strong lane right now? It's not mid lane, his time in the sun has kind of expired, and it's not bot lane, obviously. It is just this top lane where you're able to really enforce a lead against this Ornn pick. So it's just well read from the side of LYB. They know it's going down here, and they've set up the play themselves. Aiden coming on rotation. This is also because of the fact that bot lane is just in a much better condition for the side of LYB. And even though Maoan does get a lot of burst damage because of Xyliath able to meet here, they just have the numbers advantage.
Yeah, Yeah, I love the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Straight onto Husha they go. Dodoi just brings the storm, and it's kind of it from there. A number of flashes burned, but Kanji staying alive through it all. Only Aiden dying on the Liab side. Meanwhile, while we were in that replay, Beyond did take advantage of back timers to go ahead and nab themselves a dragon. But again, Liab are the team that want to go a little later into this. And just look at that scoreline right now. Zoe with 4 kills. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will.
Yeah, he's in a very, very comfortable spot, but now Mega Bank Beyond Gaming setting up for a play themselves.
Yeah, Dawn manages to dodge the Zenith Blade. Here comes
Not
the Equalizer. Aiden might be dead in this one, and he is. But Dawn does get away. A lot of investment.
Good return damage.
That's going to be a little bit of return damage to force them off. Yeah, I don't know about this counter collapse, but Liab, it certainly could have been worse.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, Husha on this Rumble, I haven't been super impressed. Like, that top play, that was probably his first real play, but in that bot lane, that ult was not there. It was not there, as he just gets a short tag onto Aiden, and thankfully, they already have more than enough damage to burst out Aiden regardless, but it also means that Dawn gets to walk away scot-free without having to force his summoner, and you just can't expend the big cooldown like the Equalizer kind of in that fashion without getting more out of it.
Yeah, it seems like the value just hasn't quite been there, and you start to question this pick maybe a little bit. Liab trying to set up death brushes and clear wards away. It does seem like the Herald is the next play for them. Mawon rotates down bottom side to work on the rest of that tower, and they'll send Xyliath up top on the Liab side. So, you know, it kind of, you watch the minimap in these games, and, you know, Liab, you see what they're trying to do. They are thinking several steps ahead of this one. Beyond are the ones that are trying to set up more opportunistic plays, but they haven't got the better of this landing phase. Gold is dead even.
Yeah.
And I think that does speak well to Beyond's landing capabilities, but it just hasn't been enough to net them a big lead, and they are playing on a timer.
And for the big thing here is Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they want the side of Liab to get sucked in towards this Rift Herald play because they do need, again, value early team fights, like so.
Spend a couple of ultimates to try and do it, but now the turn is here as the teleport's there.
They can
Call
turn.
the Forge God coming in. They don't actually find the reconnect as the stun comes out. In goes the Fate's Call. That's the second one, but if you have enough follow-up damage to finish the job, Mawon's going to fall first as Dodoi getting the kill. Hops in on a huge Stormbringer, but they didn't have any way to
That's
chase
a drowsy.
it out. 1-for-1 Sleepy Trouble bubble is not going to be enough there. Liab, it's a 1-for-1 fight. They've lost their main tank on the Liab side, and Mawon, he got popped pretty early. This is going to mean Liab should be able to claim this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and it's once again these wombo setups coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming that absolutely whiff. You see that ult, and then the Leona ult, which is pivotal to keep them inside the Rumble ult, just whiffs completely. Unfortunately, Kanji whiffs the ultimate, whiffs the head, but honestly, if that lands, that was going to be an absolute slaughter for the side of Liab, and Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they should be very, very thankful that that ult misses.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was fully pre-planned, but Kino getting the stun off there at the right second onto Kanji, I think that made a bit of a difference. But Liab, you know, they eke out a 1-for-1, and you can see how little effect Mawon is now having in these games because this Renekton, as you mentioned, Nightstar just kind of, he had his time in the sun, and it's over. Does get a tower.
It was very brief.
That was that one, a stiff breeze would have knocked that over. So now Beyond are playing. It does feel like they're playing on the backs of, like, I don't know, Doggo late game to dish out damage. You're right. These Husha equalizers have just not impressed, and troubling signs for Beyond at the moment.
Yeah, and now really their only scaling factor is just going to be Liang, and he does scale incredibly well here. It's just that at a certain point, Kanji, Dodoi, they're going to be more than tanky enough to start soaking up a couple of these accelerated shock blasts.
Now it's a 5v5 in the middle.
They still go.
That is going to be a little bit of a better equalizer. That's what they were looking at the layer, but here comes the call towards God. They only get one knockup on it, not nearly enough. And, oh man, LYB getting out poked here pretty hard, but they're not done on this fight just yet. That's the combo Beyond we're hoping for. They can maybe try and eke out this dragon, but they don't find any kills for their investment.
Yeah, I think they've done enough to earn themselves this third dragon here. Yeah, they're not going to put themselves in the position to just go ahead and flip that. And I like they have a decent response. They get that mid tower. They're going to have a bit of a cut off angle. And I love Kanji's positioning on this Ornn. He just hasn't been able to land skill shots.
Follow-up fight, though. Let's see. There was the bait from Kino this time. Does force out Dodoy to try and get away. He burns Flash, he burns Stormbringer. He still can't make it happen. Beyond pull off a pretty good bait there.
They actually able to find that pick on the back end. However, it is fairly inconsequential as LYB, they are going to be looking to reset regardless of what happened there. So it's really just Dodoy losing his life, donating 300 gold. That's the main consequence, because even with the jungler falling down, it's not 20 minutes yet. You can't just turn towards that Baron and do a 20-minute Baron because it's not 20 minutes.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Here's the aftermath of that one. LYB get a little bit hyphy with some low health bars. I don't know if it's fully intended, but Kino goes in and you're like, oh no, we've seen this before. And then you remember that Doggo has Face Call.
Oh, Dodoy actually flashes forward to try and get the stun onto Doggo, but because of that, because of the Kalista ult, he actually gets CC'd right before he's able to get onto Doggo, and that prevents the side of LYB from just full turning on that fight. So well done coming in from Doggo and Kino. This time around, Kino, he gets to engage off and survives at the same time, which I think is a massive win for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, because he's really struggled in those instances. He does need to keep improving though, because the start of the game hasn't been good to him, and now he, even after that last fight, he's still 1-4-4, still struggling for the most part. And on the side of LYB, the pokes are going to start coming online. You have this Varus getting to that point where he is going to start dishing out a lot more damage, and it's very easy to capitalize with Xyliath on this Zoe pick. Just pick up summoners and chase.
Yeah, and I do like to see Husha dishing out a little more damage. You know, it's been a little while since we've caught up, because for a bit, really we were only looking at a handful of mythic items, but now they're pretty much across the board. Night Harvester, already done by Husha, or has been done by Husha for a little while, and now he started to scale into his damage. It's a little later than maybe he would have hoped, but forcing Dawn to burn that cleanse just to not die seems like a pretty fair deal.
It's pretty solid there. And with the Night Harvester build, it's going to supplement their long-range poke damage. You'll probably see Husha just basically throw his ult out on cooldown just to try and burn health bars and burn summoners, rather than just going out for that one-fight team fight win. And now that he has, again, off cooldown, look for him to just run into a lane, throw it on the red carpet, try and take out 40% of their health bar to really just send them back home, to offset a lot of these back timers and hopefully gain advantage through back timer abuse.
And they are going to land the combo once again. Doggo able to get the finishing kill as he had a little bit of help from Kino following all the way. And it's just a brutal amount of damage off the back of that CC. Does open up Beyond, certainly sniffing in the direction of the Baron, but they're not keen enough on going in. And insta-stun on the Zoe. Xyliath forced to burn his flash to get out of there. Dodoy tagging in, and it's just everyone from Beyond Gaming right in the middle of the lane.
And all of a sudden, LYB starting to look a little bit lost here now that they don't quite have vision set up around the map. Mega Bank Beyond Gaming doing a good job at taking advantage of it. That there's that combo starting to come into factor. You start out with the Leona ult this time. And once that lands, it makes for a very easy time for the Rumble to follow up. And that's just a lot more damage that we're expecting from this pick rather than earlier on in the game.
Yeah, Doggo definitely starting to come online with the Ren stacks as well. And that's definitely troubling for LYB. The combo is being pulled off more and more regularly. They're going to have to watch themselves. And even though, they have more champions that scale a little more favorably into the later game, that doesn't matter if you start dying left and right. And to top it off, we haven't talked about it, but Beyond, they're on solo point at this point.
Yep.
And I wonder if this is a fight that LYB feel they need to take around the Dragon coming up. They certainly have inside track on it, but Beyond are moving as a death ball.
Yep, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming doing a little bit better job at grouping up this time around. We'll see if they're able to still coordinate their ultimates, coordinate the poke. And at this point, it's just really all about the poke war. Good ult here.
Here's the call. The Forge God coming back and around. They will get the knockup, looking for Kino, looking for Maoan. In the back is Dodoy.
Decent turn.
That's going to be... Oh, that hook doesn't quite land, and Dodoy just gets blown up by Doggo. The turnaround once again. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land, but meanwhile, they try to fight on multiple fronts as Lang is going crazy in the LYB backline as he goes to the skies. The rest of the team cleans house, and they get a almost clean ace.
They go 5-4-1. They're only losing Kino in that fight, and what a fight it was. We're gonna see the replay here. Xyliath goes in and Kino gets a perfect read, just throwing down the ultimate right where Xyliath is going to return to. And while it was a beautiful Ornn ult to try and disengage the situation, because of the hook doesn't land, they're immediately able to just turn onto Dodo and eliminate him. And once he goes down, then it's just off to the races. Beyond and because of Kanji going forward, he just exposes the rest of his backline, and it's so important for both of these frontline champions to stay up here in Dodoy, in Kanji, because if one goes down, it makes the job for the other that much more difficult to take care of their backline.
I feel like that was Kanji trying to be the sacrifice play, right? Trying to let his team get out, but he didn't factor in Liang basically being able to chase down the rest of LYB. So now Beyond have a real earnest lead in this game. It had been looking better and better for them as the game went on, as they've been able to stack up some more kills, but they not only secure that Cloud Soul, they get the Baron buff. LYB, they are looking for a turnaround pick, but it's going to be harder and harder to catch Kino. Doggo can just keep pulling him back in on the Fates call. They can do it a little bit more frequently now.
Yeah, the Cloud Soul is actually very, very beneficial because this composition essentially just boils down to the use of Leona ult and Rumble ultimate. It doesn't matter a whole lot of everyone else, really. Like Liang, yes, he's outputting a lot of damage, but he's not super essential for the combination. They just immediately toss out the ultimate just to secure this tower.
Alan does take a lot of damage. They might be able to take him down. They do.
Oh, that's a good pick.
That's not the stealing member for Beyond. Let's see if they can follow up with anything else. No, that forces the defense. And turnaround from the side. Liang is able to get one before he falls. The turnaround counter was good again for LYB. It's a 1-for-2, even though it started by a tower pickup. And they have the combo on it. No, the intercept coming through. Doggo actually hangs it out there. And Husha turns around with a kill onto the LYB support. It's just back and forth. But LYB, they don't quite have the power. Or do they? Dodoy looking for the chase. Gets the stun on. Sleepy Trouble doesn't land. Dodoy dodges it out. What an extended engage we've got here.
Yeah, it's so extended that they're able to get off. Yeah, they start the fight out with a Rumble ultimate, and basically the fight ends with a Rumble ultimate there. But Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they're still going to come out very far ahead. They're now out to an 8K gold lead. We're going to see the replay here. It really just starts out, hey, we want to take this tower? Well, we'll go ahead and take the tower. We'll throw it on the ultimate, make you walk away. But then the ult comes in from Dawn. It's pretty good, landing onto Maoan, and then they just say, okay, we can burst him down very, very easily. And he goes down so quick. And Liang coming in on this flank, not quite it there. He does get one first troubles, but you definitely take that trade every time. And this Sleepy Trouble bottle actually ends up baiting the rest of LYB to go in here, as They thought they had enough damage to burst them out, but because of their frontline encroaching just a little bit too far, he actually goes down as a result.
Yeah, really good tag team tactics there by Beyond Gaming to just not fall down too many times. And playing well around their control on the map. They have so much jungle pressure. Definitely questionable side engage for Liang. I don't think he had quite as many hit points as he thought, but now that he's kind of determined to stay in a side lane, although his team's coming with him, certainly looking a little better. Remember what this game means for Beyond Gaming. It's step one on trying to do the most they can to lock up that number 2 playoff seed. For LYB, they're trying to stay alive in the race for playoffs, but they won't be out if they lose this one. It just gets a little harder.
Yeah, there's playoff implications, but certainly not do or die situation for either team here. And now that we are looking at LYB's composition, we're starting to get those Ornn items streaming in here. Level 15 has the upgraded Everfrost, and now the fight.
All the forward guard, that's going to be exactly what they needed, but they still can't quite close the damage on as Kino gets thrown back in. It's Aiden who falls first into the back. Go the rest of LYB looking for Doggo. And they do manage to shut him down. But will it be enough? I think it is too little. I think it is too late. And Dodoy trying to be the hero.
Oh, Dodoy.
He is a big bear. As he gets that double kill, turns around for the stun.
Can he do it?
He's trying right now. Kino body blocking. That's going to be him staying up for now. Dodoy looking for the chase around the back of the base. The turnaround finds one into the golden flame spitter. And Dodoy hits him with the taunt. I think it's a 4 for 4, and we're just gonna leave it at that. Nightstar, that was chaos.
It was a jungle showdown in the end, and however, neither jungler able to truly conclude who is more superior. We're gonna see this fight start out once more. It's just this ult combination that's been so frustrating for this back line. And yes, the front line, they don't really care about the ult at this point. However, Dawn, he's forced to back off early. And then Doggo ends up going a little bit too far, which kind of throws this fight back into the hands of LYB. And Dodoy gets a beautiful ult, and he does so much work in this fight. Tanking up damage, starting out the engage, and then bopping up the fight. He pretty much did everything himself.
Yeah, full-on cleans up to equalize this fight. Nearly goes down, but doesn't matter. Gets Kino. Lucia realizes he can't tank him. He really wanted it. I love that he just hits him with the taunt at the end. And LYB, you know, they die hard, very hard.
It's going to come down to a coin flip at the very end now, because we do have Elder Dragon spawning. And that means this is LYB's best opportunity. If they're able to secure it, this poke damage becomes all the more fearsome.
Trouble bubble lands, so they're going to go for it. Hold button.
Oh, that's burst!
Trying, take down Kino. They do find one. Can they find any more? As there's no one to pull back. Doggo can't get that one. That's going to be that Rumble ultimate, but they ball their way forward. Meanwhile, though, Husha doing a lot of damage. They will take down Kanji, but it's still a favorable trade here. LYB. They turn on the Elder.
They're going to turn on the Elder. However, keep a watch on that Husha ultimate timer, because this thing is coming up so fast. He has so much cooldown built up, and it's just about to be back up.
Oh, this is so tense. He should be able to get this one up before the Elder does fall. LYB trying to keep the poke flying fast and furious right now. This is going to come down to it with the fight.
Oh no, it reset.
They let it reset. Oh, and they've caught Xyliath on the back. He's going to have to grab that honey fruit. All of a sudden, this is a chance for Beyond to get in there, but they do keep the dragon aggroed. Xyliath, they find Mao. Is enough damage here.
They're going to get it. They're going to get it.
They're going to manage to secure Elder.
Oh. Now that they're going to look to turn. They're going to see if they can get back into that mid lane. And with this Elder Dragon, they should be able to prevent Mega Bank Beyond Gaming from getting this Baron buff. But it doesn't even necessarily matter. The side of Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, even if they get Elder, like, as long as Dodoy doesn't flip this, he shouldn't go in. Okay, good. And they still have the fight advantage because of that Elder execute.
What a heart pounder. This fight starts. Aiden goes in for the hook. They combo up before Doggo can even pull his support back. And Maoan, honestly, saved by his sheer tankiness alone. It is a pretty good equalizer, but LYB just go forward in a line and mostly dodge it. And it really opens up the opportunity. Elder Dragon taken away, traded for Baron buff on the back timers. But LYB are still in this game.
And this is where their composition is really going to show their strengths with so much poke. And for the side of Megabank Beyond Gaming, they really have to play a lot of disengage, a lot of stall, but they're trying to force.
Yeah, they are, and that's going to be the Sleepy Trouble bubble landing on Mao. Meanwhile, into the back lane, they get the shutdown onto Doggo. That is an absolute fight changer. Maoan might survive, but not for long as LYB punches him down. Oh, boy.
Oh, a huge shock blast.
That was going to make the difference for Aiden, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to stop this push here. As LYB have a rare moment with Doggo on respawn, they should be able to break into the base of Beyond Gaming. They'll look to get the first inhibitor this game. As the equalizer's thrown down, tower is going to fall. Sieging against Baron and Powered Minions until the hard LYB needs to leave. And I think LYB realized this is all they're going to get.
Yeah, and even though they have the fight advantage, the side it looks like Kino's still interested in trying slowing down the team.
Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Blast. Dawn has cleanse, but that's it. He doesn't have the flash available to get out of dodge.
That's
but the poke is going to be enough to deter. Liang still wants to chase to try and get one more shock blast in, but Kanji does a good job making sure he tanks that one up. We are going to see the replay. Husha just uses the ult to try and clear the way, but honestly, another poor ultimate casted by him. He doesn't clear it fast enough, and Doggo gets bursted down by these ultimates. Yes, they're trying to keep him alive, but it's just not enough, and the shock blast salvages the situation from Liang there and being able to get a kill on the back end. But
Liang's a hero this game. He's been really cutting the Beyond losses in some of these fights. But yeah, it's so tense. Like, I like the body block that Maoan did to really stop Doggo from falling even faster, but LYB just had their eyes set on the prize, and you know, this is a team that can really go in if they need to, as long as their front line's where it needs to be at the right time.
Yeah, and you see with that Elder Dragon, they were able to overcome a 8k gold deficit there in that last fight, and there's still 8k gold down here. And if they're able to win out on that next Elder, they're well set up to just close out this game, as we are headed into a pause.
What a tense moment for it too. I mean, yeah, it feels like every one of these fights, it depends on, do Beyond execute, you know, the right coordinated solar flare combination? Does the Fate Skull end up getting used well enough? Do they get the equalizer in the right place? There's so many questions for these engages, but we are right back into it. It was a quick pause, and just such an absolute bloodbath of a game. 22 to 20 kills, and it's gone the distance. You know, I do want to call out something that has changed about this Beyond Gaming team. They used to be the fastest team in the league, but that has dropped off drastically, and they've kind of gone back to spring a little bit, where they were a much slower squad. And you can see emblematic here as they find themselves 35 minutes in, and it is the gold lead is still in their favor, and so is that Dragon Soul, but it feels a lot more even.
Yeah, and another thing to factor in is the fact that LYB, they do have the Ornn items, which provides about 1 to 1,500 gold value per upgrade. So it's essentially like that 2-3k gold differential here, and when that lead is that minimal, then you're looking at how well these compositions scale. And while LYB, I would say, have fairly good scaling in all these roles, for Megabank Beyond Gaming, it just comes down to 3 members essentially. Comes down to the combination of Husha and Kino's ult usage, and then Liang outputting maximum amounts of damage before and when these team fights happen.
Yeah, I think Liang definitely the linchpin of this engagement from Beyond Gaming, just in terms of his consistent damage output. I don't want to discount Doggo at all. Doggo has been the target on numerous occasions, but Beyond have done a great job of body blocking, protecting. Dawn has definitely come online in the later half of this one, but also XyLi after the execution. That is a big equalizer. but it just chopped some health bars down, and it didn't look like they wanted to go for the full push. It's on such a low enough cooldown, I guess it doesn't matter.
At this point, it's really just a lot of for fun ults coming in from Huxia to hopefully, again, burn a couple summoners, but the resistances are there for Kanji and Dodoi, so they're not taking a whole lot of damage. And it's just really Xyliat that you're looking at chip down, because even Dawn with the Eclipse is going to have some sort of life steal to keep himself up.
All the Forge God, they're looking for the play here, and they will get it knocked back, but it looks like this was beyond getting the inside track. LYB are dropping right now as
good
Aiden
first pick.
gets opened up on Dodoi.
They can't kill Doggo
before Doggo will go. That's the double kill for Huxia. They use the Elder as bait to get the ace, and that has got to be it.
The Wombo shows up this time around. Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are able to clean things up and fight off a big scare from LYB. But LYB, like, this was a game that they weren't necessarily expected to win. And with that kind of showing, I'm like really optimistic about their chances to still crack into playoffs.
Oh, there are good losses, there are bad losses. For LYB, that was definitely a good loss. Even though, you know, you get aced at the end of the game, we kept talking about how it was going to come down to one of these coin flips. It certainly flipped against them. And on the day, Beyond were simply better. But there's no shame in that when you're talking about a team that, for most of the split, has occupied that number 2 position. And speaking of, for Beyond Gaming, they're one step closer to locking up that number 2 seed.
They get one more win added to their tally. They're going to creep closer for that number 2 seed. But still, plenty of concerns for this squad. They did not look clean at all. And again, with this Wombo kind of playstyle, I think that they're trying out a couple new things here at the back end of their schedule, especially against like a team like LYB, where you feel like you should probably win. Maybe you feel you have leeway to go a little bit more funky with your drafts. I just didn't like the look of it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to question Huxia a little bit. Kino had some fun in lane, but he definitely looked better than yesterday. There's definitely some things to work on for this team. Now, they're not in playoffs yet. We talked about them fighting for the second bye, but like that's a very advantageous position to be in, right? You have one less series you have to play because you start off with that bye into the second round. But at the same time, even if they don't secure it, even if it ends up going away from them or they lose it out in tiebreakers, you know, they've got time to work on because there is just such a long postseason ahead of them. But I do agree. I think Beyond, we want to see them play a little cleaner. We want to see them play like they had at the start of the split, and maybe even to some extent in spring. And it seems like even against teams like LYB that are closer to the bottom of the standings, they are having a little bit of trouble, and I wonder if there's an opening there for the likes of a Boom or a Machi.
I would definitely say Machi have an opportunity to go ahead, and if they're able to get to that tiebreak game, even though they are 0-2 in the series score, I'm a little bit more confident in Machi's ability to win these type of games than Mega Bank Beyond Game.
Yeah, and that, you know, I kind of think that's a big statement here when we've talked about a team that has spent so much of the split, seemingly like hard to touch as a second best, but there have been challengers coming back in and really, you know, knocking them off a pedestal. Postseason is going to be really interesting, is what I'm saying, regardless of where the seeding ends up landing. But you know, for all the things we could criticize about Beyond, they did lock up the win. They did find the engagements when it mattered. Maybe some of the compositions aren't super optimal, but you know, there's time. I think it was maybe a little bit of a fun draft for a while. You know, we saw some interesting stuff. I would have loved to see the Nidalee coming out again. You know, even if you've got like a mid lane Renekton, like Maoan kind of just basically went on tank duty after 10 minutes, and I think they could have maybe rolled ahead a little bit faster with something like that rather than the Rumble.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see the Renekton go mid lane after they locked in the Rumble, because you want something that can take advantage of the early game power from Renekton. So the Nidalee definitely would have made a lot more sense in just having that kill pressure at early levels, and then you get the wave pushing in as a Renekton and team up with your jungler to threaten the other jungler. But this time around, with the Zoe pick, she was able to get priority more often than not, and then she was able to play around her jungler, and that was what made a lot of the difference during the early phase of the game.
Yeah, I think Xyliath looked really good. I also wanted to talking about Liab as well. Past the laning phase, it felt like Kanji kind of found his groove. You started to see why the Ornn really became a big feature of this team. Really good engages on the Call of the Forge God. There were maybe a few misses as well. I did feel like it did come down to execution of like a lot of stacked ultimates.
Yep.
Between like your big engages, likes of Maon in some cases. Maon kind of coming in to tank it up after they landed the Leona ultimate, comboing up with like maybe a Fate's Call or something. But it seemed like there were more options for Liab in most of these cases. They always had a little bit more tools to work with, despite their ultimate cooldowns maybe being a little bit less on the mark. And there's going to be our gold graph of the game. It stayed very even until about the 23 minute mark, and beyond they started running away from it, or starting running away with it, I should say, but it still felt close to the very end there.
I mean, even at the 30-minute mark, it was the 30-minute mark where they ended up losing that Elder Soul, and that allowed Liab to kind of pull back some of the gold lead. But more importantly, it was just the fact that their team fight structure was a little bit better in some of those scenarios. But Megabank Beyond Gaming, they were the ones with the early soul. That meant Husha got to be very liberal with his ult usage, and he's going to go ahead and take the MVP here, dealing out a lot of damage, even though some of them were kind of for fun ultimates after a certain point.
Yeah, just got to pad the stats a little bit. He did have a very good set of ultimates at the end of the game, the back half of it. I think a lot of the critique we were throwing out was just early on.
The first
it just
two
wasn't quite with the team, but he just kept shooting the shots, and eventually practice makes perfect, and he was able to really do exactly what the team needed. It enabled the siege, it enabled a lot of big combo plays, and it just chunked out health bars that really started to tilt the scales a little more in favor of Megabank Beyond.
Yeah, essentially that ultimate just became another accelerated shock blast, but dealt magic damage rather than physical damage. So he just lobbed it out, just kind of willy-nilly, because he could. The early Dragon Soul really helped facilitate that. And so yeah, well done from him, being able to utilize the champion and kind of learn his way through. It felt like for Megabank Beyond Gaming, they were kind of relearning how to play this style of a composition, and they did have a lot of growing pains. We'll see if some of those growing pains continue to persist into their last game of the season and into playoffs.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that team, but they are certainly looking a little bit better in the standings. Now, we are going to go ahead and take ourselves a quick break, but don't go anywhere. J-Team takes on Boom right after this.